I'm Azaria Tagaya, and this is Nightline, news making the headlines. Government loses billions after delays in water projects. Dozens fall ill after gas leak at KLIA. And landmark UK election underway as Labour seeks return to power after 14 years. Britons voted on Thursday in the UK general election, widely expected to emphatically return the opposition Labour Party to power, ending nearly a decade and a half of Conservative rule. Among those seen heading to their local polling stations were incumbent Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his chief rival and likely replacement, Labour Party leader Sir Keir Starmer. The polls opened from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. local time, with an exit poll at 10 p.m. expected to give the first sign of the outcome, while detailed results are expected to be released early on Friday. Around 46 million voters are eligible to elect 650 MPs in the House of Commons. For any single party to win an outright majority in the Commons, it would need to win at least 326 seats. Polls and political analysts have predicted for many weeks that Labour will sweep to a landslide majority in Parliament. If the latest polling data proves accurate, Sunak's 18-month tenure will end, and Britons will wake up Friday morning to a new party in charge for the first time in 14 years. As campaigning drew to a close on Wednesday, party leaders Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer called on the nation to vote for the right party. Sunak warned in his final speech of the election campaign in Hampshire that there are just 24 hours left to save Britain from a Labour government. The Prime Minister told Conservative activists that Starmer uses a supermajority to rig the rules so they stay in power for a decade. Meanwhile, Starmer said he is ready to govern as the final opinion polls predicted a historic majority for the Labour Party at the general election. The Labour leader declared he was ready for government, adding that nothing is going to be easy as almost everything is in a pretty poor state. However, he reiterated that he has to be ready for it and is confident he will be. Regardless of the results, a landmark is expected. Either a first Labour general election victory in 19 years or a fifth victory in a row for the Tories, something never done by a political party in the modern era. Earlier, millions of voters in 650 constituencies across the UK started voting at 7 a.m. local time in more than 40,000 polling stations to elect members of Parliament to the lower chamber, the House of Commons, via the first-past-the-post system. As soon as voting ends at 10 p.m. on Thursday, exit polls will begin to provide an initial snapshot of the election results, offering early insights into the potential makeup of the next UK government. The party with the majority in the House of Commons, either alone or with the backing of another party, will be tasked with forming the next government, while its leader will become Prime Minister. However, if no party achieves a majority, a hung parliament will be announced. Meanwhile, newly elected MPs face having their victories challenged in the courts because of postal ballot chaos. Voters in as many as 120 constituencies were hit by delays in delivery and printing, with many of the problems blamed on the short election timescale. Thousands are thought not to have received their ballots in time for Thursday's election, leaving many unable to vote. With analysis showing that as many as 1/4 of marginal constituencies are affected, the runners-up in close seats could mount a legal challenge which might result in a by-election. Postal Affairs Minister Kevin Hollenrake, meanwhile, has criticised the Royal Mail for not recruiting the right number of people to deliver postal votes. However, Royal Mail has blamed the delays to postal votes on Rishi Sunak's decision to call a snap election. Polling stations were also opened across Wales for voting in the UK general election. A total of 235 candidates are standing across 32 Welsh constituencies, with all but the Anglesey seat of Ynys Môn being contested under new boundaries. Malaysian student at Cardiff University, Aimi Kamarudin, files in this report as she witnessed this historic moment.
The new boundaries follow a review which reduced the number of Welsh seats at Westminster by 8 to even out voter numbers in the UK constituencies. Voters are required to bring photo ID with them and will have until 10 p.m. local time to cast their ballot. There are about 30 polling stations in each area, with the City Hall becoming the main station for voters who opted for physical voting. Wales also saw a Malay candidate, Sharifah Rahman, throwing her hat into the ring. Sharifah was chosen as the Plaid Cymru's Cardiff South and Penarth candidate for the election, but found herself being deselected by the party due to her support for Palestine. I managed to speak to some of the voters and they expressed their hope for changes, especially in the economic and healthcare policies.
Well, I hope we will have a government that will do really some important changes. One of them, in my opinion, is the immigration reform. We need highly skilled people to come to the country who can contribute positively. I came to the country, I'm a dentist and I do also facial surgery. So I came about 20 years ago according to a point system. And I worked hard, I proved myself, I contributed to the country.
Local candidates, I don't think there were many ambitious policies for some of the main parties, and then on a wider national scale, I think the election has been a lot of backstabbing and talking down about other parties, whereas they should be talking about how to make the country better.
I hope that Labour will win a majority and that the years of Tory underfunding for the NHS and education and housing and everything will come to an end and that things will gradually get better.
Counting will take place overnight, with the first results in Wales expected to be declared after around 2 a.m. local time Friday.
Voters in Wales, especially in Cardiff, were divided as they cast their votes today. Some are expecting change, while others are looking for continuity and stability. Nonetheless, the voting process went on smoothly with no untoward incident reported. The voters will now wait patiently for the result, which will determine the direction of the United Kingdom for the next 5 years. I'm Mika Mardin, reporting from Cardiff, Wales for Nightline TV3.
Now, back home, a leaking valve on a skid tank was determined to be the cause behind the gas leak near the cargo terminal at KLIA on Thursday morning. 39 individuals were reported to be affected by the incident, most of whom experienced symptoms of dizziness and nausea. It is understood that the valve leak had been left unrepaired as the skid tank in question had been left unused and had been put aside for the past 9 years. KLIA District Police Chief ACP Azman Shariat said the gas leak had spread up to 2 kilometers from the site of the incident. However, it was determined not to be harmful for the surrounding residents. Earlier on Thursday, it was reported that a hazardous materials or hazmat team had been rushed to Sepang after a chemical leak was detected at the KLIA Southern Support Zone aircraft engineering area. The Fire and Rescue Department said it received a distress call at 11:23 a.m. In a statement released following the leak, the department's Operations Control Centre said those affected were staff from the Sepang Aircraft, Mars Engineering Hangar and CAE. At the scene, 20 people were initially found to be suffering from headaches. 6 people were sent to the Air Disaster Unit, 13 to the Medical Centre and 1 to the Putrajaya Hospital for medical treatment. Water infrastructure development projects have been delayed beyond schedule for nearly 3 years, involving a cost of 6.15 billion ringgit. According to the Auditor-Generals report, 145 out of 712, which is 20.4% projects, were delayed between 86 and 1,076 days. The audit covered the ministries responsible for managing water resources, including natural resources, environment and climate change, and energy transition and water transformation. Total cost audited projects valued at 19.899 billion ringgit for the period of the 11th and 12th Malaysia plans involved 712 infrastructure water development projects. A total of 15 projects were implemented at a total cost of 5.395 billion ringgit. The audit team found that there were delays in the implementation of 11 out of 34 sewerage Services Department's water quality development projects, namely 2 projects each in Pahang, Perak and Pulau Pinang, 1 in Kedah and 4 in Sabah. The cost of projects experiencing delays beyond schedule was 4.685 billion ringgit. The total cost of the 129 National Water Services Commission SPAN projects that were delayed was 68.16 million ringgit. As for treated water projects, 4 projects in Sabah, Johor and Kedah experienced delays ranging from 324 to 1,076 days, resulting in a total cost of 926.79 million ringgit. The government, meanwhile, takes the issues raised in the report on national water management very seriously. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadillah Yusof said immediate steps will be taken to avoid recurrence in the future.
Audit yang berhubung kait dengan JPS, kita memang dah ada tim untuk melihat segala laporan dan kita akan mengambil tindakan atas segala teguran. KSU kita dah ada, so KSU sendiri yang akan mengetuai untuk pastikan segala teguran audit diambil tindakan dan diharapkan tidak akan berulang untuk masa-masa akan datang.
He was speaking to the media after launching the 2024 agriculture census in Serdang, Selangor on Thursday. The Auditor-Generals report also disclosed that 384.5 million ringgit worth of spare parts for the Royal Malaysian Navy RMN were unutilised, with some no longer usable. According to the report, the RMN's Western Armada depot contains 1.62 million spare parts worth 381.69 million ringgit, while the Eastern Armada depot holds 6,040 spare parts worth 2.8 million ringgit. The report added that these parts were produced from 1969 to as recently as 2021. The change of equipment on board RMN ships means some spare parts can no longer be used. The audit also found that the Eastern Armada's automated warehouse and retrieval systems monitor panel had been damaged, affecting the utilisation of spare parts. In response, the Defence Ministry said it has introduced new initiatives and processes to prevent a repeat of the issue. New procurements, including spares for vessels, will go through a committee and a board chaired by the RMN Chief and Deputy Chief. The Ministry stated that in some cases, such as with the W6 routine kit spare parts for patrol craft, they were transferred to the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency MMEA because they could not be utilised by the RMN. The Public Accounts Committee PAC, meanwhile, revealed that the Human Resources Development Corporation, or HRD Corp, has been utilising a significant portion of the levy it collected from companies to make several different investments, using up a total of 3.77 billion ringgit. The PAC found that the investments were high risk in nature, such as investments in put and call options, which may expose HRD Corp to the risks of significant losses. This was among issues revealed by the PAC chairman, Datuk Masir Mriati Samsudin, over proceedings carried out by the committee with HRD Corp for 9 months. It was discovered that HRD Corp's investment panel did not report the investment activities to the board of directors, as the management justified it by saying that the chairman of the investment panel is the chairman of the board. This resulted in the board of directors not being able to monitor HRD Corp's investment activities holistically. The PAC also found that the amount of levy collection recorded by HRD Corp increased significantly to 2.1 billion ringgit in 2023, compared to 475 million ringgit in 2020. The significant increase was a result of the expansion of the Human Resources Development Act 2001 on March 1st, 2021, where the levy was made mandatory for all industries. Yang di-Pertuan Agong, His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim has granted an audience to Sheikh Al-Azhar, who is on a special 4-day visit to Malaysia. According to a statement on Sultan Ibrahim's official Facebook page, the audience with His Majesty took place at Istana Negara on Thursday. The meeting lasted for 1 hour, starting at 10 a.m. Also present were Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Datuk Muhammad Naim Mokhtar, Deputy Foreign Minister, Datuk Muhammad Alamin, and Egyptian Ambassador to Malaysia, Ragai Taufik Said Nasser. The special visit by Sheikh Al-Azhar, who holds the status of Prime Minister according to the Egyptian constitution, marks a historic moment in the bilateral relations between Malaysia and Egypt. The price of palm oil will become uncompetitive compared to other producing countries if the windfall profit levy on palm oil in the country is not revised. Plantation and Commodities Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani said his ministry would examine and be conducting a review of the levy, with the findings to be submitted to the Finance Ministry.
Kalau kita tak revise windfall tax ini, dia akan menyebabkan produk kelapa sawit kita ni yang bersaing dengan negara-negara lain, contoh di Indonesia, dia merupakan pengeluar kelapa sawit nombor 1 dunia, kita nombor 2. Mungkin kita tak kompetitif. Sebab tu saya nak tekankan bahawa kita akan tengok. Jadi akhirnya keputusan nanti kita akan hantar kepada MOF. Let MOF review macam mana kita boleh review benda ini, dan dia secara tak langsung dia juga boleh menggalakkan penanaman semula. Apabila produk ni jadi kompetitif, then more and more people will come and invest dalam tanah yang kita dah ada.
The minister was speaking to the media after the launch of the Transfer of Technology 2024 event in Bangi. Johari also said that industry players need to actively utilise the latest technology to increase production to ensure Malaysia's palm oil sector remains competitive and relevant in line with global changes. He added that the profits reaped should be reinvested so that the country's palm industry can improve.
Ceasefire talks show signs of life. This and more from the Foreign Front when we return.
Wanita hari ini.
Dia buat dia pula acah tersakiti.
Ini bahaya ni, mesti play victim.
Ini menu sepanjang zaman, cuba teka.
Saya tahu, menu-menu legend, bihun sup, mi kari, macam-macam lagi.
Bila emosi menguasai diri, banyak yang boleh terjadi.
Hati menguasai akal yang kita bincangkannya.
Kebelakangan ini, kerap kita dengar tentang mati mengejut.
Farin, apa yang perlu kita tahu?
Bila dah lama kahwin ni, rasa cinta makin pudar.
Kenalah renew rasa cinta tu.
Menarik di WCI TV3.
Dan stream sekarang ditonton.
Raise awareness and break the stigma surrounding adoption and foster care.
Abandoned babies have got issues, and these issues must be known. When you adopt, you have to understand what comes with it.
You're fearfully and wonderfully made, all of us. And God never made a mistake. He made us with a purpose. Take time, take effort to discover who you are, find your real identity.
Catch Women Talk this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3, live stream in HD on Tonton.
Berpaut pada jalan cerita yang sama.
Dalam masa 3 bulan, korang kahwin.
No way.
Mana ada pengantin lari? Pengantin perempuan dah hilang.
Bukan jodoh kami berdua ni.
Menyatukan jiwa yang selama ini saling mencari.
Awak jangan nak kutuk-kutuk saya.
Kalau tak,
Yelah, tiada besar, baru awak nak kahwin balik.
tapi tak jadi kan?
Pengantin pasti jadi. Mulai 11 Julai, Khamis hingga Sabtu 9 malam. Terbaru di Lestari TV3. Dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
We're back with news from the Foreign Front. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will send a delegation to take part in talks for a release of captives in return for a ceasefire deal. However, it was not immediately clear where the next round of talks will be held. The decision on Thursday came after Netanyahu's office on Wednesday night announced that Israel had received Hamas's latest response to a ceasefire proposal being negotiated, adding that it would study it. In the meantime, the Zionist regime continued to hammer southern Khan Yunis, Gaza's second largest city, killing at least 7 people in an airstrike near its main hospital. Meanwhile, Lebanon's Hezbollah has launched more than 200 rockets and drones targeting Israeli military positions in response to a strike that killed a senior commander of the armed group. A Hezbollah source confirmed on Thursday that the launch, its second major attack in 2 days, was in retaliation for the killing of Muhammad Nemah Nasser in southern Lebanon a day earlier. Nasser was the third high-ranking official killed in almost 9 months of cross-border fighting that erupted after Israel launched its war on Gaza. The Zionist military, meanwhile, said numerous projectiles and suspicious aerial targets had entered its territory from Lebanon, many of which it said were intercepted. In other news, Marine Le Pen's national rally, RN, would fall short of winning an absolute majority of seats in Sunday's parliamentary runoff election. According to a poll on Wednesday, Le Pen's far-right party might not win the 289 seats needed to control the 577-seat National Assembly. The forecast showed that RN and its allies are likely to obtain between 190 and 220 seats, while the centre-right Republicans, LR, who have allied with Le Pen, were projected to win between 30 and 50 seats. This outcome would likely prevent the possibility of a far-right minority government supported by part of the LR parliamentary group. The poll followed the withdrawal of more than 200 candidates from various political parties who came in third in their constituencies in the first round, aiming to support the strongest candidate against the RN in the second round of voting on Sunday. Alcaraz keeps title defence on track. Sports when we come back.
Musim rambutan kembali. Jom kita bawakan aneka resepi rambutan.
Bahaya makanan proses, nak mudah atau mudarat?
Kenali tape, khazanah alam yang kian pupus.
Kandungan lucah di media sosial, bagaimana sebenarnya ibu bapa ini nak mengawal kanak-kanak daripada terjebak?
Dan soal wang, kita bercerita mengenai simpanan tetap, adakah masih relevan?
Semua ini di Malaysia hari ini setiap Isnin hingga Jumaat, juga di aplikasi Tonton.
Hanya di TV3.
Cinta yang cuba dipertahankan, diuji oleh rahsia yang meruntuhkan kepercayaan.
Yes! Dom, that's absolutely stupid! Why did you do that? Nalog di ba sinabi ko sa'yo? Bolo matita-tita talaga ang tigas-tigas ang ulo mo! Let me explain!
Masihkah ada jalan untuk mereka kembali bersama? To Have and To Hold, setiap Sabtu 12.30 hari. Di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Pencalonan baru Music 39 minggu ini. Siapakah yang bakal menjuarai carta Top 20 Music 39 minggu ini? Semuanya dalam Music 39 Ahad ini, jam 12.20 tengah hari di TV3 dan stream secara langsung di aplikasi Tonton.
Sports now, tennis and the 2024 Wimbledon Championship. Defending champion Carlos Alcaraz extended his Wimbledon winning streak to 9 matches on Wednesday after beating Australian Alexander Vukic in a comfortable straight-set victory.
After recovering from a shaky start early in the game, the French Open champion bounced back to seal a 7-6, 6-2, 6-2 victory in 1 hour and 48 minutes. The victory sets up Alcaraz for a match against American Francis Tiafoe in the third round. In another match, world number 1 Jannik Sinner continued his quest for Wimbledon glory after beating fellow countryman Matteo Berrettini. Sinner claimed the first 2 sets 7-6, 7-6 before Berrettini clawed his way back to take the third set 6-2. Sinner then wrapped up the game with a 7-6 win in the decider. With the victory, Sinner will face Serbian Miomir Kecmanovic in the next round. In the women's singles match, Italian Jasmine Paolini cruised past Belgian Geert Minen 7-6, 6-2 in a match that lasted 1 hour and 32 minutes. The victory advances Paolini to the third round, where she will face Canada's Bianca Andreescu next. In another match, 9th-seeded Maria Sakkari avoided another early exit at the Grand Slams by overcoming Dutch woman Aranska Roos with a 7-5, 6-3 victory. With the win, Sakkari is set to meet Britain's Emma Raducanu in the last 32. Earlier, Raducanu powered past Belgian Elise Mertens with a comfortable victory. The Briton was at her best as she claimed a 6-1, 6-2 win to stay in contention for her first Wimbledon title. Joining them was Emma Navarro. The American eliminated Japanese Naomi Osaka, winning 6-4, 6-1 in a match that lasted under 1 hour. The victory sees the world number 19 Navarro face Russia's Diana Schneider in the next round.
Hunt for Jolo still on despite deal with US government. The details after this short break.
Can See Your Voice Malaysia musim ke-7.
Hilangkan rasa-rasa curiga dan nestapaan. Buang nombor 2.
Gelagat yang mencuit hati.
Kita boleh bagi peluang apa? Salah lirik buang apa?
No, kita tak nak dengar suara yang betul sebab cakap tak sedap.
Mampukah Amy Mastura dikelirukan?
Janganlah derita kerana cinta.
Saksikan Ahad ini 9 malam di TV3.
Apabila siren berbunyi, mereka sedia beraksi. bersama Korporal Bani.
Jadi sekarang ni kita tengah cari suspek-suspek yang terlibat.
Menghadapi detik-detik mendebarkan.
Dua unit peronda, satu rombakan baru saja berlaku.
Dalam Polis Peronda setiap Jumaat 10 malam. Terbaru di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us on Nightline. The confidential agreement between the US Department of Justice DOJ and Low-Tech Joe, also known as Jolo, is separate from Malaysia's ongoing efforts to apprehend the businessman. 1MDB Asset Recovery Task Force Chairman Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani said there is a difference between Malaysia's pursuit of Jolo and the actions undertaken by the DOJ, clarifying that the DOJ has initiated separate criminal proceedings against the fugitive businessman.
It had been recently reported that Jolo would be surrendering assets worth over $100 million, including a luxury apartment in Paris and artworks by Claude Monet and Andy Warhol. This is to settle civil forfeiture cases related to his involvement in the corruption scandal and misappropriation of funds from 1MDB.
Bezakan tindakan Malaysia mencari Jolo ni satu benda yang berasingan dengan DOJ. DOJ ni dia punya own criminal punya action yang dia take against Jolo. Dia nak buat apa dia itu hak dia, ya. Tetapi apa-apa saja recovery yang dia buat, dia akan bagi balik duit tu kepada Malaysia.
Johari added that the current issue at hand concerns the settlement agreement made by the previous government with Goldman Sachs. Some $2.5 billion has been paid by the New York-based investment banking firm so far, while the DOJ have committed to pay an additional $1.4 billion.
The Securities Commission Malaysia SC has cautioned the public on investment scams, enticing investors with pre-initial public offering or pre-IPO shares of companies seeking to list on Bursa Malaysia. To date, the SC has received various complaints and inquiries from investors who had reported substantial losses exceeding 800,000 ringgit.
The SC in a statement said such scams, mostly involving private placement offerings, are usually timed with upcoming IPO listings published on Bursa Malaysia's website. Perpetrators of the scams posing as agents usually create a public group on WhatsApp to promote these pre-IPO investments. Following this, potential victims will be added into the said group unsolicited. The regulator said that the schemes may be accompanied by fake testimonials from other investors to appear credible. Payments for the subscription will be required to be made to bank accounts of entities not related to the IPO and suspected of being mule bank accounts. The SC further said that on the IPO listing day, the so-called agents will proclaim that the IPO shares have been listed and had made profits, and that additional payments are needed for their shares to be allotted. The SC pointed out that this, of course, is fraudulent, so as to convince the victims to fork out more money to the scam.
As Nightline draws to a close this time around, let's take a look as a new exhibition looking at the evolution of Barbie opens in London this week as the famed Mattel doll celebrates her 65th birthday this year. With that, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for tuning in and we'll see you next time.